It begins not with a bang, but with a silent, ascending prayer into the obsidian throat of the night. Imagine standing on the damp, salty banks of Huiyu Island, a sleepy fishing village in Quanzhou, China. The year is 2015. The air is thick with the scent of brine and the nervous, metallic tang of anticipation. Suddenly, a fuse is lit. A spark leaps from the ground, aggressive and bright, biting into the darkness. But this fire does not explode outward in a chaotic sphere of celebration. It climbs. It possesses intention. Rung by rung, a ladder of molten gold constructs itself against the velvet void, defying the heavy drag of gravity. This is Cai Guo-Qiang's Sky Ladder, a structure composed of nothing more than copper wire, gunpowder, and an audacious refusal to accept the limits of the physical world. Suspended by a massive, unseen 6,200 cubic meter weather balloon drifting high above, the ladder stretches 500 meters, 1,650 feet, into the heavens. That is more than twice the height of the Washington Monument, a searing vertical highway burning at nearly 500 degrees Celsius. For the audience watching, a tiny huddle of family and crew, far removed from the white-walled sterility of galleries or the VIP stands of the Olympics, the sight is visceral and disorienting. The ladder seems to hang from the stars themselves, a glitch in reality where the celestial realm has lowered a drawbridge to the terrestrial. The sound is a furious, rhythmic crackle, a tearing of the air that resonates in the chest, distinct from the hollow thud of artillery. As the flames race upward, consuming the fuse, they leave behind a glowing skeleton of light, a temporary architecture that sears itself onto the retina even as it begins to fade. This artwork is a paradox of presence and absence. It exists in its entirety for only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It is a monument built to vanish. In a world obsessed with permanence, with marble statues, archival oil paints, and digital footprints, Cai offers a masterpiece that lives only in the moment of its own destruction. The Sky Ladder is not an object you can own, crate, or auction at Sotheby's. It is an event, a temporal sculpture carved out of time rather than stone. Notice how the light reflects on the dark water of the harbor below. The ladder burns twice, once in the sky, reaching for the infinite, and once on the surface of the sea, distorted by the ripples of the tide. This duality anchors the piece in the ancient Chinese philosophy of Tian Ren He Yi, the unity of heaven and humanity. Cai is not merely setting off fireworks, he is orchestrating a dialogue between the unknown cosmos above and the grounded, muddy reality of the village below. He creates an axis mundi, a center of the world, transforming a quiet corner of a fishing port into a cathedral of fire. The beauty here is inextricably linked to danger. We are watching a controlled disaster, a harnessing of violent chemical reactions to create a form of perfect geometric order. The orange glow illuminates the faces of the onlookers, painting them in the same primal hues that our ancestors saw when they first tamed fire. In this brief, burning window, the Sky Ladder asks us to look up, not to check the weather or gaze at a plane, but to confront the sheer, terrifying vastness of the space above us. It suggests that if we could just find the right materials, if we could just burn bright enough, we might be able to walk right out of this world and into the next. To truly understand why a man would spend 2 decades trying to burn a ladder into the sky, we must look at the dust beneath his fingernails. Cai Guo-Qiang works with gunpowder, a material defined by its volatility. It is one of the 4 great inventions of ancient China, originally sought by Taoist alchemists searching for an elixir of immortality, only to discover a powder that could level city walls. Cai's practice sits right on this razor's edge between healing and harm, between the spiritual search for eternity and the physical reality of obliteration. Born in 1957, Cai grew up in the shadow of the Cultural Revolution. His childhood soundscape was punctuated by the blasts of celebratory fireworks and the frightening concussions of artillery across the Taiwan Strait. He saw explosions destroy, and he saw them celebrate. This duality became his medium. While his father, a traditional calligrapher and intellectual, spent his days preserving culture in quiet, fearful stack of books, Cai chose a path of loud, cathartic release. He rejected the control of the ink brush for the unpredictability of the fuse. He calls this constructive destruction, using the very substance of war to create something undeniably beautiful, effectively laundering the trauma of the material itself. But the Sky Ladder was not a sudden inspiration. It was a ghost that haunted him for 21 years. The history of this piece is a history of failure, a testament to the stubbornness required to force a dream into reality against the friction of the world. The vision first came to him in 1994, intended for the city of Bath in England. He designed it, prepared it, and dreamed of it rising from the historic landscape. But the British weather, notorious for its capriciousness, grounded the balloons. The winds were too strong, the rain too heavy. The ladder remained a coil of wire on the damp grass, unburned. He tried again in 2001 in Shanghai. It was meant to be a crowning achievement for the APEC summit, a symbol of China's rising power. But history intervened. The September 11th attacks in New York City had just occurred, sending a shockwave of paranoia across the globe. In a world suddenly terrified of aerial threats and explosives, a massive gunpowder project in a major city was impossible. The permits were denied. The ladder was grounded again, a casualty of geopolitical fear. 11 years later, in 2012, he brought the dream to Los Angeles. The Museum of Contemporary Art was ready. The location was set near the Hollywood sign, a beacon of dreams. But the California landscape, dry as tinder and prone to devastating wildfires, refused him. The risk was too high. The authorities pulled the plug. 3 times, across 3 continents, the elements and the establishment said no. Most artists would have abandoned the project. It seemed cursed, a vision too grand for the constraints of reality. But Cai viewed these failures not as endings, but as a dialogue with destiny. The delay forced the project to evolve. It stripped away the need for official validation, for state sponsorship, for a massive public audience. It forced him to look backward, to the source of his identity. The ladder wasn't meant for the Queen of England, the leaders of the APEC summit, or the glitterati of Hollywood. It was waiting for a specific time and a specific place. It was waiting to go home. The struggle to realize the work became part of the work itself, a performance of endurance that mirrored the ladder's own difficult climb against gravity. In the end, the Sky Ladder did not rise with the roar of a stadium crowd or the flash of press cameras. It rose in the dark, in secret, on the quiet shores of Huiyu Island just before dawn. There were no ticket sales, no VIP lanyards, no official government approval. Cai Guo-Qiang, by then a global superstar of the art world, the man who designed the fireworks for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, had gone rogue. He funded the project himself, navigating the gray zones of local regulations, risking arrest and blacklisting to ignite this final attempt. Why take such a risk? The answer lay in a small, dimly lit room nearby, where a fragile figure lay in bed. This pyrotechnic marvel, this feat of engineering that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and decades of planning, was an audience of one performance. It was a gift for his grandmother, celebrating her 100th birthday. She had been his first believer. In a family where his father's artistic spirit was crushed by the political climate, his grandmother had been the matriarch who held the sky up. She had once sold fish to help him buy his first paints. Now her health was failing fast. She was too weak to leave her bed to come down to the harbor. So Cai orchestrated a modern miracle of connection. He had a crew member hold up a mobile phone, streaming the ignition via a shaky video call to the device in her hands. As the ladder ignited and began its furious ascent, piercing the gloom, Cai watched the fire, but his heart was with the pixelated image of his grandmother. "Grandma, look up," he urged into the phone, his voice cracking with an emotion that stripped away the persona of the famous artist, leaving only the devoted grandson. "Is it beautiful?" The ladder burned for grandmothers everywhere who support dreams they might never understand. It was a spiritual umbilical cord, glowing bright orange against the black, connecting the mortal earth where she lay dying to the eternal ancestors in the sky. It was a stairway for her soul. It was a visual promise that there is a way up, a path out of the darkness. She passed away just a month later. The timing is chilling. It creates a narrative arc that feels scripted, yet is heartbreakingly real. If he had waited for one more permit, one more season, or one more sponsor, she would have missed it. The 21 years of failure suddenly made sense. The delays ensured that the ladder would happen exactly when it needed to, for the only person who truly mattered. The Sky Ladder went viral. A leaky phone video made its way onto Facebook and YouTube, stunning millions who knew nothing of the backstory. The world saw a cool explosion. They saw a wizard casting a spell. But the true masterpiece wasn't the fire itself. It was the act of love behind it. It was the 50-year-old man standing in the cold mud, telling his grandmother that he finally made it, that her belief wasn't in vain. This is the lingering echo of the work. It reminds us that art, at its highest frequency, is not about commerce or critique. It is a language we use to speak to those we love when words are not enough. It is a way to say goodbye. So the next time you see a firework bloom in the sky, don't just look at the light. Look for the dark space it tries to fill. Look for the ladder.